Imagine owning a house in South Australia for a fraction of what most people pay in Adelaide, maybe even less than what some pay for a car. Today, we're on a journey through the 10 cheapest towns and suburbs in this state. We'll start at the top of that affordability list, where homes are cheapest but not the very cheapest, and work our way down to the place that offers the most bang for your buck. For each place, we'll explore the history, the reasons people choose to live there, and the trade-offs they face. Whether you're shopping for your first home, thinking of moving, or just fascinated by how different life is around SA, this is a countdown you don't want to miss. We begin with the priciest among the cheapest, and by the time we reach number 1, you'll see just how affordable things get. Our number 10 is Risdon Park South in the Port Pirie region. Even though it's the most expensive of the cheapest, it's still deeply affordable compared to Metro Adelaide prices, with a median house price of $182,123. Risdon Park South grew as Port Pirie expanded. Port Pirie, with its port, smelting operations, and shipping links, needed housing for its workforce, and suburbs like Risdon Park South were developed to meet that demand. Over time, the area gained basic amenities: schools, shops, parks, local roads. Housing is mixed: older houses built in the mid to late 20th century, some newer infill developments. The suburb doesn't have the busiest streets of a big city, but it's connected, with enough infrastructure to serve everyday needs. Residents often choose this area because it's close enough to Port Pirie's services: hospital, schools, shops, transport, but with much lower housing prices. It's attractive for families looking for a yard, retirees wanting quiet, and people working locally in industry or regional services. It's also appealing for those who are tired of high costs in the metro areas and are willing to accept slower pace and fewer luxuries in exchange for more home for less money. That bargain comes with some trade-offs. Proximity to industry means potential for noise, dust, maybe air quality issues. Some older houses need upgrades. Insulation, heating or cooling, maintenance. Infrastructure in more remote pockets may lag in terms of internet speed or condition of roads. For specialist healthcare, cultural events, or big city amenities, travel is required. Also, economic dependence on few industries means vulnerability. If jobs decline or industries change, there can be knocks. Still, for many people, what you get here for your money more than offsets those drawbacks. Next is Whyalla Norrie, a suburb in the city of Whyalla on the Eyre Peninsula. It has a strong identity and some of the region's most stable housing turnover among the cheapest. With a median house price, $169,421. Whyalla was established because of its industrial potential: steelworks, shipbuilding, the port. Norrie is part of that story. It grew up primarily as residential housing for workers and their families. Over time, community services were built: schools, parks, shops, local businesses. Some older homes remain, others have been updated or replaced. Its coastal location gives it extra character: sea air, views, proximity to beaches, but also exposure to marine weather and its effects. People are drawn to Whyalla Norrie because it offers housing that's still modest in cost, but with many of the benefits of a regional city. Work opportunities exist in industry, trade, services. You get access to hospitals, schools, shops without being totally isolated. Also, natural attractions like beaches and coastline are part of life. For families, retirees, or those who can do remote or flexible work, it's an appealing mix. The industrial base is a double-edged sword. When the steelworks or associated industries slow down, there's economic strain. Environmental issues. Noise, dust, emissions can be ongoing concerns. Homes may show wear due to the salty air, exposure to harsh weather. More specialized services, health, education, entertainment, might involve travel. Young people sometimes move out for university or career opportunity. Public transport within the area may be limited. Again, the cost savings are real, but so are some sacrifices. At number 8, Whyalla Stuart, another suburb in Whyalla. Slightly cheaper than Norrie, but sharing a lot of its character. With a median house price, $167,352. Stuart was developed to house workers in Whyalla's industrial economy. Over the decades, it has added layers: local shops, schools, some community infrastructure. The housing stock is mixed: Some older, simple homes from the mid-20th century, some infill. There is a strong industrial influence in the landscape and identity. The city has gone through boom and bust cycles, which has shaped life here. Periods of growth, periods of uncertainty, adaptation. Many choose Stuart for its affordability relative to Adelaide, combined with being in a city that has actual industry and jobs. You can live here and work locally. The coastal lifestyle, access to beach or sea, some open space, less frenetic pace of living than a capital city. For people who are okay with fewer luxuries but value cost of living, this is appealing. When industry drops, the ripple effects are big. Job security is not always guaranteed. Environmental issues persist. Some homes are older, maybe under-insulated, in need of maintenance. Infrastructure like roads, internet, or transport may not be as strong or modern. For those wanting cultural amenities, frequent travel to bigger centers may be necessary. Weather, salt, exposure to sea air adds wear to buildings and vehicles. Still, many accept those as part of the trade-off. Coming in at number 7 is Port Pirie South, another suburb of Port Pirie. With a median house price $164,859. Port Pirie South grew as part of the city's expansion beyond its industrial core. In its history, the port and smelting activities were central. Residential zones expanded outward as needed. Community infrastructure followed, local shops, schools, churches. Over time, more people moved into these outer areas, sometimes for cheaper housing, sometimes to escape more direct industrial impact. Port Pirie South offers many of the conveniences of Port Pirie with somewhat lower cost. For those who work in the city, or in the industries there, or in local service sectors, it's often a practical choice. You don't lose all the infrastructure. You still have schools, shops, relatively easy access to medical services. Also, for families wanting more space or quieter local streets, this can be more appealing than being right in the industrial heart. Because the area is still part of a city with heavy industry, you may still get noise, dust, or smells, depending on direction and condition of operations. Housing is often older, meaning maintenance and energy efficiency may be issues. Some parts may have weaker public transport or less frequent services. For culture, entertainment, specialized services, people may need to travel. Also, growth can lag, meaning less investment in infrastructure expansion in some pockets. But again, many people find the savings worth these trade-offs. At number 6 is Risdon Park, yet another residential suburb in the Port Pirie region. With a median house price $162,684. Risdon Park was constructed largely to serve the workers in Port Pirie's industrial operations. Over decades, it became more established. Local schools, modest shopping strips, parks, community fixtures took hold. The architecture tends to be modest, practical, functional homes rather than luxury. Streets show signs of long-term occupancy, some houses dating back many decades, others more modern infill. Because you can often find a house at a much lower cost than in bigger urban areas, yet still within commuting distance of work and services. Lower property taxes, less competition, more yard space. For families and everyday living, Risdon Park offers a reasonable compromise: affordability plus accessibility. Many who are tied to Port Pirie for work or desire a quieter life with access to essentials see it as a good option. Industrial proximity, again, comes with downsides. Noise, dust, sometimes health concerns depending on emissions. Older homes may require updates. Infrastructure may not be state-of-the-art everywhere. Specialist medical care or cultural facilities might be far away. Younger people sometimes leave for bigger opportunities. Weather or climate extremes tend to hit rural, regional places harder, but for many, those challenges are manageable in return for the savings. Halfway through, we land in Cleve, located in the southeast of SA, a service town for agriculture. With a median house price of $159,671. Cleve was established as farms and grazing spread throughout the region. Over time, it became a hub. Shops, schools, rail, historically, supplies for agriculture, and community life for the surrounding areas. Heritage buildings, town halls, local churches, market days, all part of the texture. Farming cycles, economics, climate have deeply shaped life in Cleve. For many, it's the rural lifestyle: space, farming, or agricultural work, slower pace, less noise, lower housing costs. It appeals to those who prefer simple living, retirees wanting peace, families who don't need daily access to big city amenities. The cost of land and houses tends to be lower. You often get more bang for your buck. Remoteness is real. To reach major hospitals, universities, or large shopping centers can require long drives. Agriculture is unpredictable. Weather, drought, commodity prices all affect incomes. Younger people often leave for education or jobs. Some services are limited: entertainment, specialized health, cultural offerings. Infrastructure, internet, roads, may not always be top tier. But again, many consider the trade-off acceptable in return for affordability and lifestyle. Now we move northwest to Cleve on the Eyre Peninsula, stepping away from heavy industry toward farming and remoteness. With a median house price of $149,752. Cleve has a proud agricultural heritage. Farms around it raise livestock and grow crops. The town became a service hub. Over its history, it's had periods of growth and decline, tied to agricultural success, market demand, and climate. There's a strong sense of connection to land, to community, to the rhythms of seasons. Buildings are modest: sheds, weatherboards, old farm cottages, newer homes. People who want space, quiet, rural vistas, and affordability are drawn here. Distance to other towns is accepted because you gain larger blocks, lower housing costs, fewer neighbors, less noise, perhaps cleaner air. Some residents are farmers, others are those who work remotely or off-grid or semi-self-sufficient. Retirees often like such places for peace, low pace, low stress. Distance is a big factor. Travel time for anything beyond the basics: specialist medicine, large shopping centers, even some schools. Seasonal job availability, dependency on commodity prices, risk of drought or market decline. Infrastructure, internet, power, roads, may be less robust. Some social isolation. Younger generations often leave for opportunity elsewhere. However, for many, the lifestyle and lower costs balance that. At third least expensive is Solomontown, part of Port Pirie, with a median house price $135,463. Solomontown goes back to the early days of Port Pirie's expansion, when landowners like Solomon and Smith subdivided areas for residential use. It grew with the city's industrial era. Homes have ranged from older cottages to more modest suburban homes. Its proximity to industrial, port, transport, and city services shaped its development. Because it's cheap, but not totally remote, residents can be relatively close to work, schools, shops, medical facilities, and Port Pirie's infrastructure. For families wanting affordable housing and reasonable access, it is often a go-to. Also, people who have lived there for years, family ties, or want to stay in the region tend to. Sometimes investors also like it because the cost is low, but demand for affordable housing is steady. Environmental exposure is still a concern. Depending on wind, distance from the smelter, etc., there can be air quality issues, noise. Many homes are older, meaning maintenance costs and energy inefficiencies. Some parts of community infrastructure may be older or underfunded. As with many regional towns, younger people often leave for big city opportunities. Cultural and entertainment options are limited compared to metro areas. Our penultimate stop is Port Pirie West, one of the most affordable suburbs in the state that still has strong regional infrastructure. With a median house price of $132,694, Port Pirie West was built to support Port Pirie's industrial operations. The port, smelter, rail were catalysts for settlement. Over time, residential housing, small commercial areas, and schools followed. It has simpler housing stock, many modest homes, older builds, with some upgrades or newer infill. The layout is utilitarian but functional, with a strong sense of local identity tied to the city and its industrial roots. If you want to be close to employment in Port Pirie or need access to services but can't afford what more suburban or city fringe areas cost, Port Pirie West is often a smart choice. The housing is cheap. You get proximity without paying for prestige. For many working in local industry, trades, service sectors, or wanting to live regionally, it hits a sweet spot. Again, industrial pollution is a worry for some. Older housing stock means maintenance burdens, possible stigma or less attractiveness to some buyers, which can affect resale value. Infrastructure may be patchy in parts. Roads, stormwater, internet. Some essential services exist locally, but anything more specialized or fancy often involves travel. Social amenities are fewer, but many people accept those downsides because the price savings are substantial. And here it is. The cheapest town in South Australia is Nangwarry, with a median house price $129,477. Nangwarry is a small rural locality in the Limestone Coast region. Its economy has traditionally revolved around grazing, timber, and smaller-scale farming. It was officially declared a town under the Crown Lands Act in 1974, though the area was used long before that. It doesn't have the dense infrastructure of a regional city, but the landscape, the land, the community are old growth in character. Farmland, timber, quiet roads, and longer distances between neighbors. What attracts many to Nangwarry is simple. For first-home buyers, retirees, or people who can work remotely, Nangwarry offers the biggest bang for the buck. You get land, open sky, quiet, less traffic, more affordable mortgages. Living costs such as rates, land taxes, or local property costs are lower. Also, for many people, the appeal of being near larger centers, like Mount Gambier, while still being rural is real. You can balance peace with access. On the flip side, services are limited. For medical specialists, you'll often have to drive far. Schools beyond primary or high school may be far or require travel. Internet or mobile coverage can be inconsistent. Transport options are minimal. For almost everything beyond basics, you're driving. Employment opportunities outside farming or small business or remote work are scarce. Weather, climate variability, droughts, rainfall, hits farming hard. Social and cultural amenities are few, and sometimes isolation or lack of opportunity weigh heavily, especially for younger residents. But for those who can live with the trade-offs, Nangwarry offers what maybe no other place does in SA: home ownership at rock-bottom prices. Now that we've pointed out all 10 from number 10 down to number 1, a few themes emerge, lessons for anyone considering moving, investing, or relocating. First, there is distance and remoteness. All the places on this list are regional or semi-regional. None are close fringe suburbs of Adelaide. The further from Metro Adelaide, or large regional centres, the cheaper the property, but that distance often means fewer services, longer travel times, and sometimes feeling cut off. Second, industry and agriculture dominate. Ports, smelters, steelworks in Port Pirie and Whyalla, farming and grazing in places like Cleve, Nangwarry. That gives jobs, identity, history, but also creates vulnerability. When commodity prices drop, environmental regulations tighten, or industries decline, residents feel it deeply. Third, older housing and infrastructure. Many homes are older, many require upgrades. Broadband, roads, public transport often lag behind. Energy efficiency can be poor. For someone used to urban conveniences, this can feel rough, but for someone willing to adapt, these are manageable. Fourth, lifestyle trade-offs. Quiet, wide-open spaces, slower pace. Stronger community ties attract people. Retirees, remote workers, people disillusioned with city stress. But sacrifice comes with fewer options. Entertainment, culture, health access, younger opportunity. Fifth, opportunity and growth potential. Some of these places are stable or even growing, others less so. For people buying property, lower purchase price means lower entry barriers. But at the same time, capital growth tends to be slower. Resale may be harder, but for many, home ownership itself is the goal, not making a fortune. So, that's the countdown. From Risdon Park South all the way down to Nangwarry, the cheapest town in South Australia at the moment. Each of these places tells a story of industrial pasts, farming present, and people carving out lives where the cost of living doesn't force them into long commutes or massive mortgages. If you're considering your own move to something more affordable, remember, numbers on a sheet are just a starting point. Visit, talk with locals, drive the roads, see how service access is. Can you get what you need locally, or will you have to travel often? What kind of job opportunities exist? How strong are the community and support networks? If you found this video useful, hit subscribe and like. Let me know in the comments which of these towns surprised you most, and whether you could see yourself living in one of them.